Sunday, 23rd of October, 2022. In this evening's show, we review the pulsating West Lancashire derby at Bloomfield Road yesterday, as a clinical pool dispatched their arch rivals from down the M55 in a glorious afternoon for all in tangerine and white. I'm John Aspinall. This is Seaside's podcast, match reaction show. Blackpool 4 or PNE 2.
A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to what's going to be the best Seasiders podcast show of the season thus far, as we are reflecting upon Blackpool 4, Preston North End 0. The so-called best defence in the league, Tim. Best unmute yourself, quick.
Schoolboy error. I was trying to do the 4-2, and my fingers are too fat to do it on the screen. I should have stood back a bit further. But actually, I've got a bone to pick with Raggy. I'm in the doghouse because, as I said in the green room beforehand, I've been whistling that fucking tune all day. Charlie Patino. I can't stop. It's like ingrained in me.
I think the whole town's been doing the same
but
thing.
honestly, my missus is going mental. Anyway. So it's your fault, Raggy. I blamed you. So
you're welcome.
Raggy, you are the owner and proprietor of the Charlie Patino song. Tell me, where did the inspiration come from for that?
There's a Moroccan football club. I'll troll YouTube like everyone else does and see songs over the years. There's a Moroccan football club, Casablancas, Wydad Casablanca or something like that. If you see that video on YouTube, I watched it years ago. Them all bouncing, singing that tune. And then when Charlie signed, the loads of lads in the WhatsApp group, they were all trying to come up with songs and that. I thought that they were rubbish. They were just without lyrics. They were just sort of chants like. And I just did it at work in the office. Said to the lad in the office, "What do you think of this?" And he said, "That sounds all right." Sent it out to everyone the night before we went to Stoke, and then it just got going in the pub. And who knew? And he came. Well, we'll get into it in a bit. But he came into the club last night, Charlie, for an hour into the Anfield Club. I told him, and said my dream when it was written that was that you'd score against Preston and the whole ground and sing that song. So,
what did he say to that?
Maybe he couldn't believe it. He loves it, mate. We'll talk about it.
How do you think he feels? He's a lone player from Arsenal, no connection with the club really, and he's got the number one chance at the moment about him. Did you actually
he's the
see
most
him?
grounded, level-headed 19-year-old lad you'll ever meet, and his dad and his uncle who was there as well with him. They just they love it, absolutely love it. He was taken aback by what was happening in the club yesterday, and he had an hour there taking pictures with anyone that wanted to speak with him. And even when me and Grimmy walked him back to the hotel then with his dad, because there was people everywhere, and all the way back, different groups, must have been 4 or 5 different groups come past. All right, Charlie. So
you and Grimmy like his minders.
That was right. I said, you don't know what you've just done today, lad. You don't know what you've done in this town.
it's interesting. There's a guy. As I was coming out of the north, went back up to the Moretti for half an hour before I came across your place, and this guy who sits behind me sort of said, when everybody was singing the song, he said, "That's the best." He said, "I've been watching Blackpool 50 years." He said, "That's the best Preston-related chant we've ever had, bar none." And like you say, with Charlie doing what he did yesterday, and also we're going to discuss that, to have the whole ground singing that at them, and particularly the last line when they're all still in there, was just.
That's what's wonderful about it.
It was football poetry, wasn't it? Football chant poetry.
Yeah. Although I did notice today that the club have cut it out of their little videos today. They put the whole chant on, but leave that last line out.
Have they? Have they really?
PC gone mad.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, but maybe they need to broadcast on GB News, that sort of thing. Mitch, good evening.
Hey, I just think it's a good job we didn't drop him in the previous show, isn't it, really, John?
We left him in for the chant, didn't we?
Yeah, because otherwise none of this would have happened.
Well, it was going to be Sonny Carey, who we'll come to later. We were right with Sonny Carey because he was fucking brilliant yesterday. Raggy, I don't know if you saw the preview show, but we were debating whether it's Carey or Patino who gets the nod. But what made us verve towards Patino was the chant. We said he's got to play in this game because it's his chant. So, yeah.
Well, they were both stars in the end, weren't they?
Yeah.
Both of them.
Carey was anyway. We'll come on to that anyway about Sonny Carey. Let's have a quick look at the team sheet, gents, because there was a real curveball on there. It was very surprised to see a certain name on that team sheet. Tim, come to you first, but not a surprise to a certain member of this panel, as if you recall, someone wanted CJ in, which was roundly poo-pooed. Anyway, the lineup was Maxwell, Connolly, Ekpateta, Thornley, Husband, Bridcut, Patino, Dougal, Hamilton, Badine, and Yates. So pretty much what we suspected, Tim, apart from the inclusion of CJ.
And I've got to hold my hand
widely
up.
derided by Mr. Tim Fielding.
I did say when the team got announced that I was rather disparaging of CJ being picked, and I'm the first one to hold my hand up and say I was wrong. I think when we spoke about it on the preview, I think we're talking Pavida and we were talking about Corbino, and I don't think many of us thought that CJ would actually start. And to be honest, based on his performances, he didn't warrant a start, did he? Based on what we've seen on the pitch. But how wrong were we? So I think otherwise, I look at the team and I think it's pretty much what I expected. I think we were leading the chorus for Grimmy maybe to return, but I didn't think he would change it. I think that was just us talking about who we would ideally like to see play. But it was great to see Judd playing because I was a bit concerned about him, wasn't there? I think he had a scan on Friday. Also, a little bit concerned about Medine. And so it was great to, I took a real sort of fillip from the fact that they were both starting. I thought, genuinely, and I'm going to prostrate myself at the temple of CJ Hamilton all night. But Hamilton was the only one I thought, not sure that's the right call. But otherwise, I thought it was just pretty much as strong as we could be, bearing in mind all the players we've got out.
Mitch, over to you, your brief thoughts on the team. If you recall our CJ chat at the time.
Yeah, Tim's put it politely. Tim's put it very politely within he thought he was a bit about CJ play. And I just thought, I cannot believe he has picked CJ, with his 50p foot and everything. And I thought it was like, I was really edgy about this game. Really, really edgy about it. Because I thought, well, if it doesn't go right, then it's, it is going to be sort of open season on Appleton and everything that he's trying to do. And I just thought, you get this feeling, you think, oh, he's picked CJ and it's not going to go well. And then everyone's going to be, why the hell have you done that? Why have you thrown this lad in that you've not played all season? What kind of calls that? And how wrong I am. And actually, I said in the pre-match thing that I didn't see how Hamilton could play, in a sort of a short passing game style of team. And he actually did that side of the game really well, as well as I've ever seen him play in terms of his little flicks and his little touches and his relating with them. So again, like Tim, I absolutely worship at the altar of CJ Hamilton now for that game at least.
Raggy, Liam Bridcut got the nod as the holding midfielder, I guess. Were you pleased with that pick?
Yeah, like everyone else. Listen, he's stood out, hasn't he? He's been great. Shame he's have to go off. Hopefully he's not another one that we've got injury-prone midfielders. I will have to say this, though. You'll have to take my word for it. But on the Friday night, in various WhatsApp groups I was in, I said, I've watched 5 Preston games this season on TV when I've been sat at home. I put money on the other team, make it interesting. And I said, they need to get CJ Hamilton on that pitch and just tell him to run. Not interested in what he does with the ball. Run at that right back Potts because he's rubbish. And there we go. Boom. So, not that I know a lot about football tactics, but I think Appleton's done his homework on that.
Yeah.
That's why he's put him in.
Yeah, Tim, that's a fair point from Raggy there. He's obviously recognised there's a flaw in the defence to get exploited there. And
Potts isn't a fullback at the end there. And to be fair, Tom was saying as much, wasn't he, on Thursday night? I'll be Tom's advocate here. He was perfectly prepared to come on this show, but tonight was just a bit of an issue because his daughter had a swimming comp at 8 o'clock. So I think he's giving himself a fair excuse. But to be fair to him, he was otherwise up for coming on. So every credit to him. And because I'm not sure I'd want to go on a Preston podcast after they'd beaten us 4-2.
No, fair play to him. What was that right back called?
Potts.
Story. Potts was
Potts played right back.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was a bit
That's
more
what I'm saying,
advanced.
because Tom was saying that Potts isn't really a right back.
Well, he's sort of
It
right
was a bit more advanced. It was more advanced in the first half.
They play wing backs, though, don't they?
Yeah, they have three centre backs. But it was Potts who he was given a real torrid time to, from what I saw.
Yates was purposely put over that other side to keep that full back from getting too far forward. That Fernandez, he's a good player.
Yeah, he was,
and he's run a lot of their games previous to that from that position.
It kind of pains me to say it, but they were a lot improved from when we last saw them at Bloomfield Road, weren't they? They were a better side.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
but, they couldn't be much worse than they were last year. They were shocking last year. They really were. They were that home game. They were probably the worst team we played at home, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so. So Tim, on to the game itself. It was a bit of a cagey affair, wasn't it? First 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think I've got to be honest. I think probably Preston had the better of that period from my recollections. I remember all through the game that Marv was worrying me. He looked like a rabbit caught in the headlights every time the ball ever came near him. And obviously, as we're going to discuss, there was fairly significant repercussions in that respect later in the half. But I don't know what's up with him at the moment. He just whether it's a link to the what happened against Sheffield United or not, I don't know. But he looked more nervous than we were, and I think as has been said in the comments, was it Williams with a Marv mask on? I don't know, but it was a Williams-like performance, wasn't it? It was really strange, and but it made me nervous, particularly. I think the other thing, perhaps to mention, it was a bit frustrating, and even more frustrating the way the game played out. They were kicking towards the north in the first half. I don't know, psychologically, I always like us, and we do most of the time, to attack the north in the second half. I assume Preston won the toss and decided to make sure that didn't happen. I don't know, but I can't imagine we chose to do that. So that was a little bit frustrating as well. I think there's a few groans going around the north when they changed sides. But it was the
team to think about that as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think they must have won the toss, and they must have said, because obviously if they'd done it the way that we would normally do it, they'd be attacking towards their fans in the second half as well, wouldn't they? But they've obviously deliberately avoided that happening. So
worked out well for them, didn't it?
Yeah, no, but anyway, I really wish it'd been the other way around for the way the game played out. But
Tim, I thought that was a bit of a silly decision from Ryan Lowe, because there was a very bright sun out, and it was quite high in the sky at the time, and it was facing their goalkeeper. So I thought it was a bit of a stupid decision by them. Yeah,
it was like being on Costa del Sol on the north in the first half. It was absolutely roasting.
It was a beautiful day.
Everybody was having to take the coats off. I remember to take my sunglasses, which helped a bit, but it was like you say, it was incredibly bright, and you're permanently having to put your hands over your brow, just to your head, just to try and make sure that you got a proper view of what was going down the other end. And as it panned out, obviously it clouded over a little bit in the second half. So it most certainly probably helped us, that decision, in the relation to the way the game played out, a lot more than it helped them anyway.
Let's just rewind very quickly, just to pre-match, Raggy, because I've seen some videos of the atmosphere at the Armfield. It looked absolutely rocking, pyros going off outside, and it looked like a great atmosphere out on that.
Yeah. Well, listen,
balcony.
it started out. We was there at 7 o'clock in the morning setting up, right? Just getting everything. It takes ages to set all that cars up all over that building. And then Preston fans got lucky. They come and sprayed something on the side of the wall, didn't they, in the morning? And they got very lucky because we were in there. And I tell you what, I'd been out there a minute earlier having a fag. And we seen him on the CCTV. 4 blokes, by the way, not kids. 4 blokes off the car park, straight round. I'll give them a little bit of credit. At least they didn't spray it on the mural.
Yeah.
Put it on the wall. And they could have done. So
I'd like to think they'd have more respect than to do.
Yeah, well, they could have done it. So I presume they thought about that and not done it. So anyway, that was off. They got the nice little picture, didn't they? We got it scrubbed off. I was sweating my bleeding tits off. Trying to scrub it off and then spraying BFC over it so no one could see it at all. But yeah, so we made a decision, didn't we? We couldn't get to serve any earlier for whatever reasons you want to come up with yourself. We weren't allowed to open the bars till 11 o'clock, but we come up with an idea. Well, particularly Carver came up with the idea of what if we just let everybody in, drink their own, get the party going, and at least then we've got a full pub for when we do start serving, because obviously it's a big loss of revenue. But listen, it worked out well. And
why did they do that to? Why did they do that to? Because all the other pubs could open before 11, couldn't they?
Listen, I can go into it a million times, Tim, like I have with them. They've got an obsession about it. They've just got an obsession, and they can't do things correctly.
Isn't it like a restriction of trade? Or is there nothing you could do, Raggy, kind of on a legal standpoint, a restriction of trade?
We probably can if we get down to it. But you know what? It's we don't necessarily want to be upsetting them either, do we? We want to work with them, and we've tried.
But the flip side, I mean, maybe they didn't know what you were then going to do, but instead of it and them having plastic only glasses all the way on that route into the football ground, there was then cans and bottles and God knows whatever else knocking around, wasn't it? Because people were going in the off licenses.
Weapons.
So they probably created a more. I don't think it had. Well, I wasn't there pre-match, but so I don't know. I walked past earlier on, but if it was ever going to kick off, there was more glass and can in that area than there would have been.
It's crazy, and we had to marshal the balconies. No one was. People were allowed to stand on the balcony but not drink. Yet the whole road's full of people drinking. And numerous times I've said to him, "Look, you've got to recognise this is a big football club in this town, a professional club. It's got a big supporters club over the road, and that area is just a complete danger on days like that. They know everyone's going to turn up. Why they don't shut that section of the road and turn that into some form of fan zone area, particularly on the day of Preston? It never gets like that for any other game. You could take that decision one time a year, cut it off, stop any mither, stop wasting 50 police stood all over the place outside there. But listen, they know best, don't they? And they put 400 police on duty yesterday, and not one bit of trouble, was there? They policed it well.
Policed the Blackpool South Station well, didn't they?
It's crazy. I can't
believe they didn't. I would say I can't believe they didn't have a permanent presence at Blackpool South.
I got to see their plans beforehand because they run things by us and tell us what we've got to do and stuff. And I don't know.
The village idiots in charge, I think.
Well, who knows? But
after the game, I was going to the Bloomfield pub, and for some reason, it was weird. After we've been kettled around the back alleys and what have you, in the side roads, and we made our way back onto Bloomfield Road, and there's loads of people just going to the Bloomfield, and there was like a group of 20 or 30 Preston fans, giving it large, but they just had like 4 or 5 police escorting. I don't know where they were escorting them to, but then there was a mob of Blackpool fans, and they were descending towards them, Mitch, weren't they? And that would have gone off big time had the police cavalry charge not arrived kind of in the nick of time to save them.
Yeah, was that the lot who ended up on Little Car Park?
And the little car park, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I was walking up behind 2 coppers, and they had one of them say to the other, "Well, which way's the train station?" And went, "Well, I don't know." I don't know if I genuinely overheard that. And I don't know if that had anything to do with it. They literally didn't know where they were supposed to be taking them. Because, I mean, they draft them in from all over, don't they? It's not just Blackpool police.
Greater Manchester, I was talking to a few yesterday from Greater Manchester. They had no idea. I asked them how they police United City games and why why they can have one row of police in the stadium between the fans and at Bloomfield Road. We've got to have 500 seats either side and more coppers than away fans. I don't get it.
It was the whole day was treated like it was a war zone. They even had a police helicopter. Did anyone notice that?
So first thing I saw, got out of the car up, I parked up at top end of Bloomfield, got out of the car and the police helicopter's up, and you think, well, all right, and this is like 1 o'clock or something. No, it wouldn't be. It would be 11 o'clock or something.
The football equivalent, Les Golding. So it's a good day out in the helicopter. You know, so you know, you get yourself up there in helicopter. It's like their big day, innit? It's their biggest policing operation of the year, and they all want the overtime. They all want to make a big thing of it. And then, as well, as I'm sure we'll come back to discuss, they can't even have a presence at Blackpool South Station, where they know there's a large contingent of Preston going to be going back to PR postcodes.
It's bizarre. Part of the plan was supposed to be that they were going to be bussed out. This is what I was told. Anyone that the class as risk or groups of lads will be put on buses taken out. The only people that will be taken to train stations are families. So how all these groups of lads were getting out of that, I don't know.
It kicked John. It kicked off big style on at least 2 occasions at Blackpool South after the game, and there wasn't a police in sight.
You are joking.
You are either scenario
with all that.
There's a video on AVFTT and there's videos elsewhere, and with both incidents, there wasn't any police in the vicinity. And I think all the Preston fans, they went in fine fair, didn't they? They got a load of Coke cans. They were chucking Coke cans.
Yeah, I saw a lad with a particularly nasty cut over his eye where he'd been hit by a flying can. Listen, I think we were the protagonists in it, from what I can gather, from what
evidence I saw. But the reality is, they've got this huge police operation. They've got the train station nearest the football ground, and there isn't not that they weren't literally on the station. They weren't anywhere near. There was nobody about.
But it's the same as last year, though. It's probably a bigger scale than what went off than last year, from what I've seen. But it was exactly the same as last year when we moved us all up to those crossroads. Then it took them about, 10 minutes to get there or something, because they hadn't actually used their combined police brains to work out that the point where the fans meet might be where it might go off. How don't you work that out?
It'd be interesting to see what the total bill was for the police. Richard Watts just said $5,000 an hour for the helicopter, and Stingers just said the police helicopter broke. Had to land with an engine problem.
400 police, they told us, were on duty yesterday.
Who foots the bill, Tim? Do you know for these sort of?
I'm not sure. I think it actually on the footprint of the ground, it's the football club, but off the footprint, I wouldn't have thought it was the football club. It must just be. It's Christmas coming up, though, isn't it? They've got to get their overtime in time for the November pay.
What I was told in the past was they sit down with the police at the start of the season and they address every game, and the police tell them how many they think they should have for that game, and the club agree with it. They come up with a price of what they'll pay, and they'll adjust it accordingly as it goes on. So I don't know what the price is, but £50 an hour per copper, won't it?
Well, when we parked the car at my office and we walked across Waterloo Road, and there must have been about 30 Preston fans, and they were being escorted by 40 or 50 police officers. It was like there was more police officers escorting them than there was fans.
Yeah.
But then they can't find the way back. And they picked them up from Blackpool South, but they never thought, after the game, we're going to need a presence down there.
Listen, Lytham Road wasn't any better. There was plenty of things on Lytham Road, as if they don't, I don't know. It seems quite simple to the rest of us, doesn't it? Keep them in for 15 minutes and it's sorted.
Exactly, Raggy. We said this in the preview show. Keep them in for 15 minutes to half an hour. You don't need you probably need a quarter of that police force max. Everyone's dissipated by then.
You can't answer the questions you ask them. You ask the police outside on the streets now. They have no idea, following orders. You ask them why there's 500 seats either side of these Preston fans. They can't answer it. Why you can police Rangers, Celtic, Liverpool, City, Arsenal, United, whatever, and seemingly 14,000 Blackpool and Preston fans is uncontrollable. Maybe we just got a bigger rivalry than everyone else.
Scott Cadellis has just WhatsApped me and he said during the protest, the Tangerine Knights were told it was £55 per hour per police officer on the club's footprint.
What's the footprint, Tim? What do you mean?
The footprint will be any land owned by the football club. So that'll be anything around the west, the north, the south. I suppose there's a grey area out on Bloomfield Road, isn't there? But it £55 an hour. So if you're talking 5 hours of cover, so that's £250 per copper times 400.
So horses will be charged at a bigger rate. Dogs will be charged. Helicopter, I think someone's just put £5,000 an hour or something.
£5,000 an hour. Yeah.
Oh, you'd be hundreds of thousands of pounds just, but at least it stopped all the trouble. So it was worth.
You'd think that in this age we live in, where you can make freedom of information requests, that we could get this information and just have. Maybe it'd be great to have one of the Seasiders police communication team maybe come on here and just answer our questions.
We did ask this a while back, didn't we? I think it was last time we played Preston, if I remember rightly, come on and explain the debacle that we had to deal with them funneling both sets of fans away from the ground and then to meet each other further down, just south of the stadium. And I saw that plan, and listen, some people have stuck up for it, but I saw that plan and I thought, well, listen, I've got a modicum of intelligence, and I don't see how that's going to work. And then you factor in the fact only 5% probably see it anyway. And I don't know what it was like on Bluefield Road immediately after the game, but I can't imagine it was organised. Let's put it that way. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody in the chat or one of you guys will say that.
Right. I walked up Bloomfield, and I think you've got to credit them compared to last year. They had at least communicated some stuff, so it wasn't a complete and utter surprise as to what was happening. And it was, by the time I walked round, I mean, I did see the lads on Little Car Park, but that was about it. But it was quite clear that even if they'd policed that bit better, they'd just moved the issue somewhere else. And the numbers walking back, I mean, I said before I was behind 2 coppers, but that was kind of like a column of, must have been 20 of them walking back, and there was like me and my lad, and I was quite late coming out the ground, and I'd stopped and had a nat with Joe and stuff, so I was kind of one of the stragglers walking up, and there must have been 20-30 coppers just walking up there, but really, apart from the little car park, there was nothing to see up there, if that makes sense. But they didn't seem to be proactive or reacting to what was actually going on.
Wayne Mayman's just put, Mitch, Magdalen Road meeting between Central Drive was mental. Do you remember that, where we came out of Magdalen Road and where it crisscrossed with Central Drive, and there was a baying mob. It was weird. There was like a baying mob of them. Must have been, I don't know, 50, 60 of Preston fans just being stopped from getting over the crossroads. And
I think I was late.
Every Blackpool fan was giving them shit, weren't they? And it was like, it was weird. Why were they even there in the first place?
Are you talking about last year or this year?
No, this year.
Well, I think
Did you not see that?
Later than that. I think I missed that because I think I came up onto the sort of tail end of whatever had happened there, because it was sort of like everyone was out in the front garden, sort of looking at what was going on. Someone was going, and I told him to get off me fucking wall, like that, which made me laugh. But yeah, because as I say, I was like really straggled up away from the ground. I was a bit late, but yeah.
The other one I heard was that why there was only a few Preston fans coming off at Blackpool South is they all jumped off at Pleasure Beach, and there was nobody there to be seen. So the trains coming in and stopping at the Pleasure Beach, which is obviously gives you access to do the full run down the promenade of all the pubs and everything, and Velvet Coast and all that. And nobody thought it was worthwhile having a presence there either.
What's that, Raggy?
So how are the police not on the train from Preston coming with them in the morning? Yeah. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
Maybe because they had to pay their own tickets and they didn't want to eat into all the time money.
Listen, I've met with Chris Hardy, as we have at the Armfield Club, right? And he's a Blackpool fan and he's a decent fella, and I I fear for the training of police officers. Every single one I talk to outside that club every week seems clueless. They seem like they're about 21, 22 years old, half of them, and they've just come out of bleeding wherever they've come through training camp, and they've no idea. And they just say, "Oh, it's what we've been told. It's just what we've been told." They just stood there like lemmings, aren't they? Following orders, and if no one's telling them what to do, I think they were still outside that club last night, about 20 of them, on the other side of the road, till about 7 o'clock. It's like, what are you still doing here? Just no one told them to move.
They had those big Mercedes vans. Did you see them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't police vans. They had these, they'd hired from Avis or something, haven't they? Rent a car. They've got these big 9-seater, like the big V-Class Mercedes vans.
Yeah.
They had a load of them. So I don't know, they obviously ran out of police cars because there are that many of them on duty or police vans.
Just to avert your eyes to the screen, gents, to sick from Mick Harrison, regarding the ground capacity, it's got to be mainly down to the safety officer, because last time in the Championship we were getting like 16,500, 17,000 crowds, and the crowd yesterday was only just over 13,000 from what I saw. I thought that was quite poor, given the fact it's Blackpool v Preston. That should be full, that ground. 16,000, 17,000, and that disappointed me a bit.
But we haven't.
I don't know why they're leaving these gaps. Listen. The reality is the away fans should be at the north end of that east stand.
Yep,
that's the reality. And
it made the game even better, wouldn't it?
Of course it will. But for some reason they don't want to do it, and that's, I don't know whether it's they've got to be able to control it. Haven't they? Running a football match, control it. We know everyone. Listen, I know the dynamics of Blackpool fan base seems to have changed over the last few years. We do seem to have a lot of young lads and young men now, and big groups everywhere, and we do have our problems with people throwing stuff and running on
that problem would be over, Raggy, if it was away fans in there, wouldn't it? There'd be no... Sorry. I'm talking bollocks, aren't I?
You might have said some fight.
Yeah, that's even worse, isn't it?
But they've got to get control. They've got to get control of it, and they haven't. And listen, as much as I love it all, I mean, it's out of control sometimes, that north stand at the front. Everyone just stands at the front like a paddock. It's great. It's not how you see any other football ground, is it?
Right, should we go back to the game? I think that needed saying. Right, Mitch, I'm just trying to think of the first incident of note. Potts had a sort of a pot shot from the outside of the box, 90 minutes. Ben Woodburn, decent shot from cutting in from the right-hand side, drilled hard and low to Maxwell's right, I think. But yeah, I think that maybe the big turning point in the game was on 28 minutes when Liam Bridcut, who was having a decent game, went down injured. I think he was holding his hamstring, so he definitely is the replacement for Kevin Stewart, isn't he? He's emulated his career perfectly there.
Yeah,
Sonny Carey coming on was the big turning point. The fortunes for Blackpool in the game.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, I think I was disappointed Bridcott went off, because they were doing all right. They were putting us under a bit of pressure, and I thought, as much as I wanted to see Sonny on, I thought, they're doing quite well. Sonny's not really a defensive-minded player. Bridcut's going off for losing that experience, but straight goal. Sonny came on, didn't even have to touch the ball, and then and we scored, and it was fantastic. I mean, I don't think you can credit Sonny with the goal, can you? Really, because it was a lovely free kick from Dougal, fantastic flick from Gaz. It was everything you want from Gaz Medine, that, and a brilliant sort of stretching poke home from was he a head or did he get a toe on it? I can't remember. His head, wasn't it?
Head.
Yeah, sort of stretching header from Yates. And yeah, Sonny Carey influenced that one just by walking on the pitch. But yeah, that probably was what changed the game, because he then went on to have an absolute blinder.
Tim, as Mitch has just said there, the crossfield, across the box header from Big Gaz, that was Medine and Yates all over. That's
and with a great contribution from Sir Kenneth as well, of course, who's much maligned for his set plays, but actually came up with a pearler there. So always round. I jest a little bit on that Kenny's contribution, but it was a fantastic double act there. Medine did what Medine does best, and Jerry showed, he was his thought process was ahead of everybody else. Stole into the far side of the 6-yard box, and it was quite acrobatic in some ways, the way he made sure he got his body in the right, because a lot of players wouldn't have got the body in the right position to actually make that happen and make it happen properly. And but yeah, great finish.
It looked like it had hit the support stanchion from the west. It was weird. A lot of people, I was like, oh, he's just hit the side netting, so there's a bit of a delayed reaction.
Yeah, it was, and I think that's what I said. I think to get his body right was the hardest part of it, really, because most people will just lunge at it and then the ball will go off to the right, won't it? But he'd managed to, and it was his speed of thought more than anything else that made sure he was actually in the right position to do it, and he sort of managed to use his neck muscles in a way that made sure he didn't go wide, and it went where it went, and it's a player in form, isn't it? He's on fire, and he's just proven any doubters, and particularly Critchley, who appeared to doubt him, he's proved him wrong, because Appleton clearly trusts him. He's played him week in, week out, and now we as a club and the team are benefiting from his rich vein of form.
I think he's more than form, Tim. I think he's just fucking brilliant. I just think he has been unreal these last few games. He's better than I thought he was, and I really liked him. Joking aside, you had your Pelly comparison, and we all thought he was fantastic in League One, and he did some great things. But he is. I mean, have we had a better? I mean, I suppose take Kevin Phillips out. Have we had a better forward than him since DJ Campbell? We haven't. Have we? Haven't had anything anywhere near that class. He's been superb.
It's his overall work rate as well.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 games in a row. I know we'll get to this, but 2 out of the last 3 games, after the most physical, intense matches you could possibly imagine, Yates is on this game, he has set up the 4th. Sheffield United nearly set off the 4th by tackling back in his own box. How many strikers would be asked doing that? How many strikers would be strutting around on a game like that thinking, well, I've done my job, the rest of them can do it? And he just never stops. He's special, that lad.
Let's on the first goal, let's remember, he took a right clattering. That won the free kick, didn't it?
Actually, that's right. Yeah.
It
drew the foul.
It'd been quicker than his opposition. So I can't remember which Preston player it was. Quicker than his opposite number. Nicked the ball, and then he gets taken out. He was hobbling. I actually was a bit concerned he might have to come off at one point. Picks himself up, and then from that free kick, bang bang in the back of the net.
And I absolutely don't want to curse him, but how many players have we got who are seemingly made out of papier-mâché? When it rains, they have to go and sit under the stand so they don't fall apart. Has Yates ever actually come off for us with a knock? I can't ever remember him being out. I can't remember.
That's a great point.
He just keeps going and going and going. I'm literally touching the wooden dining chair that the laptop's balanced on, so it doesn't happen. But he just keeps going. He gets kicked. He runs 90 minutes. How many miles he must run every week? It's unbelievable. And then he just turns up to start the next game looking fresh as he ever has done.
Yeah.
He's super fit, the lad, and every credit to Appleton and the management team just playing him constantly. They played him into confidence, and then boom. Last year, neither him or Lavery last year were ever going to get confidence. They were in and out of the team all the time. I think the same thing would happen with Lavery if you just play him. Keep playing him. Just tell him, listen, son, you play until you start scoring. Simple as that. And now look at him flying.
There certainly is egg on our faces, gents, as we were saying, we'll never have a 10-goal a season striker this season, didn't we? Not long ago. How many is he on now? 8. Equal top scorer.
He's got the same number of goals he got last season already. Is the joke? Well, I don't know where he scored later on the day, but he was going into the 3 o'clock kickoffs. He was joint top scorer in the championship, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He got as many goals as Preston. Not far off.
Not fully. That's not hard though. To be fair.
No. They've got the best defence in the league though to counteract that.
We've scored 36% of the goals Preston have conceded this season. I think Max Grafton put that on Twitter. That made me smile. Raggy, talk to me about Marvin Ekpatez's first half performance and the Preston penalty.
Well, I missed the bleeding penalty because I'd gone for a pint and I just saw it on the TV. So there's something's he's not a dead confident at the minute, is he? He's not the same. And I don't know whether that's he's lost an older head in Richard Keogh and he's not the same this season. But he's a quality player, so he'll come back, be fine. He'll get himself out of trouble with his height and his pace on most times, and he's just made a couple of late challenges, hasn't he? Last couple of games, Sheffield United, now Preston, needs to stay on his feet, stop doing them kind of things. But he's going to learn. The young lad really that's come out of nowhere, hasn't he? And look what he's achieved over the last 3 years. He's 2 or 3 years.
Ben Whiteman's knocks the pen in.
He'll be fine.
Mitch, Ben Whiteman's knocks the pen in front of you. Pretty standard down the middle. Fair, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a penalty all day. It was like Sheffield United. You could see it happening as soon as he got done. I mean, he got wrong side of whoever it was on the left, and you could see it happening. And really, he should have done it earlier. He should have reacted. He should have realised he was done and done it outside the box and taken the yellow, but he didn't. And sort of he backs himself, doesn't he? He backs himself to be able to make those challenges, but then realised it wasn't on and kind of half slid, pulled out the slide and kind of just like clipped his heels. It was an absolute stonewall penalty, no complaints. And the penalty, actually, I thought for a split second, I thought Maxwell had saved it because it was one of them where he'd like dived past and chucked his hand up, and I thought he got him, but he hadn't. It was a good penalty. So yeah, and it was just deflating because it was rocking, wasn't it? It was absolutely rocking after that goal, and then they came back into it quite quickly, and I thought, I was worried again.
So, Tim, CJ was denied a chance to counter just before half-time. Jordan Story, yellow carded. Just also in the first half, there was a challenge with Medine on the lad with the headband on Lindsay, I think he was called by Preston. He did impress me. Whenever a player gets a headband on, Terry Butcher-esque, they always seem to stand out and they always seem to have a blinder, don't they? I thought he controlled Medine quite well throughout the game.
Yeah, well, Medine's a handful for anybody, isn't it? Even whether he's on his game or off his game, you're never going to get an easy ride with him. And he'd already made a significant contribution to the first we've spoken about before. But he was our battering ram a little bit yesterday, wasn't he? Where he was chucking himself about and getting involved with all the nastiness that needs to be done, which then frees up a couple of other players to do the bits. And without shadow of a doubt, our best player in the first half was CJ. I just think we just saw such a more confident player than we have seen, and whether it's stuff that's gone on behind the scenes or not. Jerry looks a stronger player this year than he did last year. Whether it's something to do with what they're doing in training or what they're doing in the gym, I don't know. But CJ just looked a different player yesterday, and from the off,
he was a threat. He was a constant threat, wasn't he?
And he's everything that we want him to be, and always hoped he would be. But generally, he's not done it, and his touch has been poor. His confidence has been poor. His decision making has been poor, and he sort of flipped it all yesterday. He was terrorising. Brad Potts was absolutely shitting himself all game. Anytime that ball came anywhere down our left hand side, he was panicking, and he was panicking because CJ has the pace to do him, and he was actually controlling the ball and being positive, and it was fantastic to see. Absolutely fantastic.
And he was getting the cutbacks in.
Everything.
Well, he's quite good at that.
He's just that's what I said. The worst thing for me about CJ has been his decision making. I just think too many times he's got into a position where he's created a bit of space and then just always done the wrong thing, or his touch has let him down, or whatever it might be. And he just looked like he was full of confidence yesterday.
Do you think it has something to do with the fact that we had 8 of the League One team on the pitch together? They really did click together, and CJ looked really comfortable, and he looked like he really knew what he was doing. And it was actually, that really was as probably as close to the longest serving group of players that you could put out on the pitch. It was only Patino new this year, and Connolly and someone else. It might even have been 9 of the League One team. Anyway, there were a lot of them out there.
Good point.
Yeah, it's a fair point, yeah. Okay, second half, Mitch. My memories of Preston were kind of on the... What's he looking up? Have you paused?
Me?
You look like you're possessed. Your video's paused. Anyway, yeah, Preston on the front foot. Well, that little bit of skill from Jimmy, took it on his chest and just volleyed it wide. And also another big moment of the game came on 64 minutes when Preston lost Greg Cunningham with that big unit Diaby coming on, praying to the gods before he entered the pitch. But those prayers were not answered on 68 minutes when Charlie Patino scored a sublime goal with the outside of his laces, with a great bit of build-up play from Sonny Carey, and laid in by, who was it?
Connolly, I think.
Connolly. Was it Connolly?
I think it was Connolly. I think it was. My recollection was it was Carey.
Carey broke from the midfield.
Yeah, he drove forward. It came to Connolly, he just laid it off to Patino.
Oh, it was Carey.
No, it was Carey laid it off to Patino. Carey broke forward, lost it. I think it might have been Dougal won it back, and then Carey just made the most beautiful little bit of space. It was absolutely sublime what he did. He sort of shimmied, made that beautiful little bit of space, and just drove at their defence. It looked for all the world like he was going to go for a shot. Absolutely all the world like he was going to shoot, and then he just little no look pass to Patino, who, what a finish that was. He just so cool. So it's almost like a little clipped, curled pass into the corner of the goal. And when you watch it back, it actually goes quite slowly into the goal. It's just placed beautifully.
It was because, Mitch, when I first saw it, I thought, well, he's just side-footed that in, but he didn't, did he? He let the ball run across his body.
Yeah.
Which is, for someone so young to be so cool in that situation. Yeah. He just didn't take a touch. He's let it roll across his body. But Tim, he's hit it with his laces, but he's kind of driven it with the outside of the foot as well, which is what's made it bend away from Woodman in their goal. And he had no chance, even though
it almost looked like it went through one of the defenders' legs as well. I don't know.
It did, I think, yeah.
It did, yeah.
I know Woodman was absolutely slaughtering the defender, presumably for not blocking it. But it's just... It was just great to see, he's a young lad finding his way in the game. I'm sure he's got a fantastic future. But I spoke to him after the game. I just said to him, you don't learn that playing Arsenal under 23s, do you? And he just said no. And he's just what I really liked about it was the way his immediate reaction was to go right over to the knobbers and doing the shh.
He actually threw Jimmy off him, who was trying to grab him. Like, get the fuck away from me! I want to shush the knobbers.
Yeah. Well, he was steered away in the end, but I thought, yeah, go for it, lad, go for it.
Well, as I was saying before, Charlie was obviously you were there last night, and Charlie came into the Armfield Club for an hour. Was absolutely mobbed by everyone with pictures and everything, and what a bloke he is, what a lad. And his dad and his uncle came with him, and we took him back after. And then his dad and his uncle came back out for a drink with us last night, and was talking. And it's his dad who said to Charlie before the game, "If you score today, you have to go up to them Preston fans, giving it that. You've got to. You'll go down in history." And that's why he did it. He said his dad told him to do it. That was why he did it.
Love it.
So.
Oh, Charlie's dad, you're a ledge.
Brilliant. What a great fella, by the way. You can see why his son's level-headed he is as well. And by the way, I'm only relaying what he told me. Arsenal did not want to let him go out on loan to anybody. and he wanted him to go out on loan, his son, and the only place he was going to come was Blackpool because of Michael Appleton. So he said that's why. That he spoke to Appleton, and he said I've bought into everything he wants to do, and that's why he's here because of Michael Appleton.
Wow.
And he said he's loving it. Totally, never had as much support from a club, from fans, and totally loves it.
Who has a song for before they've even put the tune?
Well, that was it. That was me. I told him last night. I said I wrote that song, by the way, and he's like, "You're joking me?" I said, "No." I don't know where, you know. I told him explain where I tried to get it from. But, I said, "Who knows? Maybe we knew he was going to be a superstar." But, proper lad. He's going places, and he can see it now. And I've never seen anyone strike a ball. I told him last night. The only other person I've seen strike a ball as well as him, effortlessly, is another Charlie Adam.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it.
Yeah. On the comms, Mitch, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the full match back. I've just watched it all back. Andy Bays was saying Blackpool have had 2 chances all game and they've taken both chances and were clinical, which has been a big criticism of Blackpool this season. And it was a great time to put that terrible little record to bed where we're not clinical and we're not taking our chances. We certainly have in this game.
Yeah, at that point, that's probably a fair comment. I mean, I think we then went on to have a really good spell where we probably, made more chances, had more possession, had more pressure. But at that point, it was against the run of play at that point, to be honest. I mean, it had started to turn. And Jimbo's shot you identified before was really, that was the point it turned from, really. And it had started to shift, but still, I think if you were, if you'd stopped the game on 67 minutes and had to award it on XG or some shite, you'd have probably given it to Preston, wouldn't you? So, so I think that's probably a fair point. And we were clinical, and it was, all the way through, it was impressive how clinical we were, even through to the last minute, where I would swear CJ was going to miss it, and he didn't. So.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've got a few more talking points until then. We're obviously with 2-1 up. Tim, Kenny almost bagged as well, didn't he? Took the ball down beautifully on his chest and rifled it in, just saved by Woodman. And I think Kenny's got his shooting boots back on.
Yeah, for a 6 out of 10 player, he's not doing too badly.
Oh, where's Liane? She's not even turned up in the comments, has she?
No, she's got suffering a bit, didn't she say? She's a bit. I gave her plenty last night, to be fair, and she was. She kept on trying to explain a logic, but on that logic, whenever a team's in the first division or the second division, you'd never give them a higher than a 3. So I'm not having it. But yeah, again, not really. And other than I know I'm his bag man, as I said on the other show, on the last show, but I thought Kenny had a great game on Saturday, and he did what he does well, and then I thought his generally set pieces were a lot better than, because I must admit he took a first corner. I thought, why is Patino not taking the corners? Why is Kenny doing it? And it was a half decent corner, and then obviously he's put the free kick in, and he's hit Gaz's head with that, and I thought it was a very, very solid performance by him, and I'm starting maybe to think that Appleton's decision to play him in a slightly more advanced role is not quite as barking mad as I first thought it was. We
did play most of the game at 6, though, didn't he, after Bridcut went off?
Yeah, but he moves around. But the thing is, I think what they do is just the way I probably should watch the games back more than I do, because you'll probably pick it up on it then. But I think he's playing that when he's played Patino in that central role. When Patino then pushes forward, I think Kenny drops in, doesn't he? Or one of them drops, whoever it might be, between Kenny and Bridcut or whoever. So I think there's a bit more fluidity in relation to the way that 3 play than we've perhaps seen in previous formations, and it probably makes it more difficult to pick them up as well from that perspective, I think, because they're never quite sure who's playing where and whatever. But I was really, really pleased with the way he played. Like you say, he was probably part of the catalyst to us really taking control of the game along with some other players as well. So,
Mitch, it was a shame to see Judd. I'll get on board with that name now. Going down on 80 minutes. We're being replaced by Reece Williams. We don't want to. Does anyone have any intel on what the injury was to Jordan Thornley? I'm hoping it's not a hamstring. I'm praying to God it isn't.
Don't know.
No one knows.
And
B, Raggy, Reece Williams coming on with 10 minutes to go. But
Loved it. Just what we wanted.
and we thought we thought Marv was gonna pull his mask off and go, I would have got away with it. It wasn't for you meddling kids. But no, it wasn't him. Marv was Marv.
Yeah, listen, it's just what it is, isn't it? He's always going to get stick because of his Preston connection, but he was totally professional when he came on. He was celebrating with everybody else. He's wrote a couple of things on some of his social media today, which has got him a lot of stick off Preston fans, so that'll do, won't it? Maybe he's seen the error of his ways and changed
allegiance.
I think he's a good player, really. But
he did all right when he came on, actually. He did the job, didn't he? He did the job.
Yeah.
Well, the moment that you could tell he wasn't actually a knobber agent was that one where he belted it in the gap between the north and the east.
Yeah,
and you wouldn't have done that if you were trying to throw the game. You wouldn't have kicked the ball, booted the ball over the gate there.
Yeah. Okay, Tim. One of the best passes I've seen at Bloomfield Road since, as Maggie mentioned before, since we had the likes of Charlie Adam strutting his stuff on the hollow turf of Bloomfield Road. Sonny Carey, what a ball!
Incredible, wasn't it?
What a ball that was!
Well, it was actually to CJ Hamilton initially, wasn't it?
CJ to Patino, yeah.
Yeah, it was. That's a proper defense splitting pass, wasn't it? It was fast, it was pacey, it was accurate. It was he had his head up and spotted the man. It was an incredible ball. Like you said, it's probably one of the best midfield passes you're ever going to see. And and again, CJ I've said this before, but CJ did the right thing. He controlled it. He saw Patino. He laid it off well to Patino, and that's what you want. You want somebody to be positive, to be decisive, and not to overcomplicate things. And he didn't. He just did exactly the right thing. And Patino then puts a delicious ball across. And I've got to say, until the score came up,
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say because I said the same.
It's Medine. And everybody around me thought the same. Everybody thought it was Medine had scored because it was almost like textbook Medine header, wasn't it? And
I was thinking of texting you. It's Medine. I was shocked.
Well, it wasn't.
It came up as Jerry Yates. I was like,
not Medine. Gary was at the far post, looking slightly disappointed it hadn't made it through to him. And but I because it was right in front of me, and he appeared from nowhere. Like I hadn't really seen. You quite often with a cross goal, a headed goal, you see it coming, don't you? Like read it. And the ball came in, and Yates, he was like he materialised out of nowhere.
It's like he'd grown a foot in height as well.
He had, but it was like he'd been invisible beforehand. Like it was brilliant. It's his movement is amazing. He's like when you watch him at the moment, he's just as likely to pop up at right wing back, but then he's immediately he's playing number 9. He's like sort of playing 2, 7, and 9. In the same game. It was superb.
Just Raggy, just going back to Sonny Carey again. Obviously, he's been the architect of that goal, but did you see that? It might have been a bit difficult to see from the north, unless you've seen the replay. He went on a surging run where he just beat about 5 players. And Brett said on the comms that it was like watching Phil Foden. And I think it just came to CJ. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I can't really recall.
Yeah, you probably can't from your north. Mitch was
Not for the North Concourse, you can't.
No, you can't.
Well, no, but no. What time were we talking about here? What
It
part
was,
of the game?
just before this goal. I think it was about 5 minutes before the third. Mitch, you're nodding your head. I just want to acknowledge that.
Yeah, he did.
Skill.
He started with a beautiful. His control was really close, and then he pushed it out of his feet, and he just kept going past one, and then another, and he just slightly ran out of pace a little bit at the end to take on the last guy, and then just laid it off to whoever it was, CJ, whoever. But it was absolutely mind blowing. And there was another pass on the right touchline that I think was probably a better pass even than his defence splitting one. I don't think it actually led to anything, but it was just how the hell he got it out of his feet and to where it went. And it's like he put spin on it and worked out where it was, how it was going to go, like a golfer. I thought he was sensational yesterday. I really do. But I think he is that good. And I think the world has just forgotten that Sonny Carey's a good footballer. We've got all these lone players in, and everybody's just forgotten that Carey is actually, he's raw, he's a kid, but the talent he's got is remarkable.
Tim, I remember Brett Garrity when I met him down at Cotton Hall. He was with Sonny Carey, who was the Tangerine teammate for the Blackpool girls, and Brett came and introduced myself to him because I was with Eddie just having a little session with him. And he said, I've just seen your son with the Blackpool top on, so I thought I'd bring Sonny over and meet you and just say hello, and because you're Blackpool fans, and I had a nice chat with him. He's a really nice lad. And when he was just signing an autograph and a Solid Freddy, I was chatting to Brett Garrity, and he was saying to me, he said that the coaching staff think we've unearthed an absolute diamond here. He said he's so highly regarded and he's a bit raw, but they were really excited about the prospect of what he's going to become, and that performance yesterday.
Well, it's proper, it's top of the championship performance, isn't it? And you look where he came from and Kings Lynn, and you're thinking, how the hell is a lad without that ability playing at that level? And I think we've had this conversation before. I think he had been in Norwich before, hadn't he? And
yeah.
But how he ends up being released and people not realizing what his potential is quite incredible, really. So, and listen, probably this season, I don't know what others think, but I think perhaps the perception's been he's lost his way a little bit from where last year, when he was on the fringe of being an automatic starter, wasn't he? And then he seems to have dropped back a bit, but with performances like that.
It was that injury at Huddersfield did him.
Yeah.
It was, but I don't think he's been used quite right so far. I don't think Appleton really had quite worked out what he was necessarily, because he was used in a bit more of a sort of midfield battling role in the first few games, and then he dropped out the side, didn't he? After the first few games, when we got the loans fit or whatever, and then he's just come on as a sub every now and again, here and there where he's been needed, and then he got the 3 games at Burnley, because he came on and chopped the guy down. So that's another time when he didn't play. And I think yesterday, somebody said Appleton sort of had a word with him on the touchline and just sort of said, just attack. Like somebody who sits in the West had said Appleton had called him over and says, forget all the sort of running around shadowing stuff. Get the ball, attack, do that. And it was like a light, light switch where it's like, all right, yeah, I can do that. Because he does look lost when he's doing the other side of the stuff. And, if you ask him to be a player he's not, like most footballers, he won't look very good. But if you let him do what he is, then I think, he's going to be potentially fantastic. And he's our player, I mean, genuinely, those passes he made yesterday, if Patino had made them, they would have been going round Twitter with Arsenal fans going, look at this, future England captain, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying Patino's not utter class, because he is, but there were 3 or 4 moments in that game yesterday where Carey was every bit the equal of Patino, Maybe not all round, but certainly in that creative sense. And he had a shot. He had the technique on a shot at the end. There was a ball, it hit the pitch, bounced up, and he chopped over it. And he nearly brought it off, and I could see it from where I was, the way it was the spin on the ball as he almost got it under the crossbar. I mean, it fizzed over the top. That technique was sensational. I think you can tell I like him. I'm getting ready for when Gaz finally leaves at 37. I'm going to need a new favourite player, aren't I?
Yeah. Right, Raggy. Were you still there when they got their scabby OG right in front of the North? Were you actually in there? Were you in the stand or in the concourse?
I was in the. I was at the front of the stand like a paddock. So I saw it. I saw the ball go towards the goal, and I couldn't see what happened. And then I'm like, oh, sitting there, players running off. I thought, here we go. And that was me, by the way. I have to confess, that was me. Outside this, I'd gone. I couldn't watch the end, so I missed the CJ goal.
You didn't.
Listen, superstition kicks in. I've got to go and stand on my own. I stood outside the ground with Bet365 staring at it.
What, like doing that?
Just
like an expectant father on a maternity ward, pacing up and down.
Oh no, I couldn't. I just saw 3-3. I just had in my head 3-3.
We are the 3-3.
I jinxed us, by the way, because when the free kick was, I think who took one of theirs down? One of our lads took them down on their left hand side, didn't it? So it was a free kick, and I turned to the lad I stood next to and said, they're going to score from this, and then there's going to be 6 minutes of stoppage time, and we're all going to be cacking ourselves. And so what happens? The ball comes across. I don't know whether it touched somebody, but then it ended up at Connolly's feet, didn't it? And I don't think Connolly was expecting it to end.
It just hit him. It just hit him.
And it just sort of snuck in at the back post. Well, it sort of hit. It must have hit the post because then it came back.
I was thinking, please roll across the line. Please roll across the line. But it didn't.
So it was quite frustrating because I think we're on the 88th minute or 89th minute, weren't we? And I thought there was going to be 6 minutes of stoppages. As it happens, there was 5. But it was like typical Blackpool, and particularly after what we'd experienced at Sheffield United last week, you're thinking, no, please, we don't.
It was Hubby going off as well, wasn't it? Added to that sense because Judd had gone off, and then Hubby had gone off, and it was just like Williams had come on, and then Tomo's come on. He's really not had a good time.
And then Pateto's having in there, so you've got three in the back 4
in there, and you're just thinking, oh my god, I can't deal with this. I cannot deal with this again.
No, me neither. That's why I went.
And then of course, when they bring the ball in just after that, and it skims off Thompson's head, doesn't it? Like Thompson, he didn't seem to get up for it properly, and it sort of skims off the top of his head for a corner, and you're thinking, oh.
Well, that caught. Oh my god, when they got.
And they send the keeper, and you just oh my god, when they set the keeper up, and I could just see it. I could see it. I was like visualizing. They're all going to be coming out the east. He's going to be. I couldn't cope with it. I was proper catastrophe, and I don't normally do that. I don't normally get so doom laden and panicking, and it was horrendous. And up he went, and I was thinking, oh, Tomo's conceded the corner, and it's all going to be his fault again, and everyone's going to be raging at him. And when the corner came across, it was one of them that it wouldn't go out.
No.
We just didn't seem to get rid of it, and he's going, fucking get rid of it.
They had the ball at the feet on the 6-yard box, didn't they? At one point.
Yeah.
I think Medina had gone off by that point. Had Medina gone off?
Yeah.
There was somebody who almost miskicked it right on the edge of the penalty area, and then it went as you're looking at our goal from pitch side, it went right, didn't it? And that's when they came in on the edge of the 6-yard box, and it's like, oh my god, it was nerve-wracking, isn't the word for it?
But
cometh the hour,
cometh the man. The ball's broke free. Woodman is still up. The ball's broke free, and he's made a quite of a half-arsed attempt to get the ball, to be honest. And
I actually think Jerry Yates
after running 10 million miles or whatever throughout the game, has still got it in his locker to burst and get the ball before Woodman, get a toe on it, get it out to CJ, and
should have come back to him, really. Actually, I've watched it back a couple of times, and I think CJ does the right thing, because I think because of where Woodman was, I think if if CJ played the ball to Yates, he was offside.
Side. No,
Yeah.
Jerry was holding his run though. I don't know if you noticed.
No, but he was only holding his run against, as you often do, because you always
can't
think
be
the
beyond the
goalkeeper's
keeper.
the other side. The goalkeeper was behind Jerry, and because the goalkeeper was behind Jerry, there was only one defender. So if CJ played the balls, Jerry would have been offside. So I think CJ made, because when you look at it, you're thinking it's more logical to play it to Jerry, who's in loads of space. But it isn't, because he would. I think I think if you look back at it again, I think he'd have been offside if he'd passed it.
Are you saying that CJ thought of that in that moment?
I don't know whether he thought of it, but I think his decision making was correct. His decision making to take it to the right and create an angle for himself was the right decision. As most of his decision making was right yesterday. So it might have been instinctive, or maybe he actually thought about it. I don't know.
As Kelly's just said in the comments, I swear I watched that goal fly in slow motion. That's bang on the money, Kel. That's exactly how I felt when.
Well, it's funny when you watch the video, isn't it? If you watch it back, the goal, it's like the ground goes silent whilst the ball's in the air.
Everyone's like going,
boom. Yeah.
That's the one I wished had been scored in the north, though. Yeah. I think I know. Obviously, that anybody in the south will disagree, but if that had been coming to the north and we had like 2 seconds notice of it going in, it'd have gone absolutely.
Oh, they'd have been on the pitch. They'd have been after banning 200 people today.
Bananas.
But just to be fair to CJ as well, a chance like that isn't easy, is it? It's quite hard because he's still got side foot and you're always putting a lot of curl on the ball when you're side footing. And he got it right in the corner, right in the middle of the goal as well.
He created a great angle for himself, to be fair, because he did what you should do and take it to the right to give yourself slightly more space and a better angle. It's always, when you kick a ball straight, it's always very, very difficult to keep it straight as against when you're doing it from an angle and you're going back towards the goal. And I thought he executed it perfectly.
Comment from Shane that Appleton was screaming for CJ to keep running. There was maybe just run it into the corner as well. That's
he said that Appleton, didn't he? He was thinking, just run, CJ. I've never seen him smile as much, Appleton, when that went in. If you look back on the video, he was happy with that.
Oh, but what a release when that goal went in. I've never felt a feeling like that at Bloomfield.
Well, I don't know about everyone else, but after Wednesday, I would turn up yesterday fearing the worst, and I don't know whether in previous games leading up before that whole game, I thought we were going to take Preston apart, probably getting overconfident. And maybe Wednesday night against Hull was exactly what we needed. And maybe the players were the same.
I didn't speak to anybody pre-match who thought we were going to win.
No, I know. That's what I mean. I think if you'd have spoke to him a week ago, they'd have thought you'd have found a lot that thought we were going to win. After Hull, everyone just thought, oh no, here we go. But maybe that focused minds in that dressing room. The Summit did. We were well up for it.
Well, what a day, eh? Up to 18th now, 19 points, 3 points behind the Nobbers with the game in hand. Fun little stat that I've just looked up on our form. About the last 5 games, we've only lost 1. That was obviously against Hull. We've drawn 2 and won 2. So who'd have thought we were in such a downward negative mindset after that Hull game? And it's completely flipped on its head now. And we're looking up the table rather than down.
I think what we are is inconsistent. I think that's what it is. There's been this like big argument in there. You know, are we shit? There always is this argument about are we good? Are we not good? And then depending on which side of the argument you are about the manager or whatever players are playing, you have to say that we're good, we're not good, and whatever. And I think the truth of it is we are inconsistent. And Hull was dreadful. It was one of the worst performances I've seen for years. It was dreadful. It was irredeemable. There was nothing good about it. But to varying degrees in the previous 4 games, we'd been pretty good. But then before that, we'd been poor. We'd had a really bad run. And then before that, we looked really good. If you go back to like QPR and Burnley and stuff, we look really good. And we're up, we're down, we're up, we're down. And it's quite hard to know, isn't it?
Okay, just before we move on to the player ratings, section, I want to big up the referee, a guy called Chris Kavanagh, who I thought did an excellent job of the game. Referees are always much maligned, like that knobhead we had at Sheffield United, but I think he managed the game perfectly.
Well, the fact that we're not talking about him other than at the end in complimentary terms suggests he refed the game well. No, I don't think any of the Preston fans would have been having a go. I will be saying that the referee was shit because he was neutral, wasn't he? And he seemed to get every decision right. You know, he's called the penalty right. He's called the fouls right. He's not brandished too many yellow cards, but he's done it when it's needed. And he's kept control of the game well. And that's what you want from a referee. Mm. And he as a Premier League ref, and to be fair to him, he's a decent ref.
And we won, so.
Yeah, it always helps when you've won. But even if you look back, even if we hadn't won, I don't remember any decision where I thought the ref completely got it wrong, you know, which that's not often we can say that.
Yeah. So, yeah, well done, Chris Kavanagh.
Can I just also say, and we didn't play, when I first started watching Blackpool, I don't think we played, we didn't play Preston very often at all. We always seem to be different divisions. But in all the years I've been watching, I don't recall a game, from our perspective at home, at least, that was as good as that yesterday. I think that's the best one I've ever been to. And that's a great testament to Appleton and to the team that they're able to deliver the goods. Because there's so many sterile 0-0s and crappy. Even when we've won it, they haven't been great games. But, you know, and it didn't start great yesterday, but the quality of our finishing, the quality of some of the build-up play in the goal in the lead-up to the goals, you've got to call it out like it is. And that's as good as you ever got. You know, if you ever talk about trying to convert floating supporters, it's that type of performance that will do it. You know, I know one of my missus' brothers took his little lad, and his first game was against Norwich, didn't score. That's his second game today, and that's the type of thing that will cement a young lad to support Blackpool Football Club. And it was just a pleasure to be there, and it's a fantastic day from start to finish.
I did actually say in the last pod, Tim, the preview, I said, would you a goal fest in this fixture?
Yeah, well, I said it. We were talking. We were all going 0-0, 1-0, and whatever. And then I think I'd actually said as well. After saying all that, it'll probably be 4-3, and it wasn't quite that, but it wasn't far off. And it's great to have some goals because I've seen so many shit derbies with Preston. It's unbelievable over the years that have just been, you know, you build it up and then it's a complete and utter anticlimax. And it's a pleasure to be on tonight and to be talking such positive.
All our goal. They technically didn't score a goal from their own endeavours either. No. A penalty and an own goal. Where all of ours were from open play.
Yeah.
Right, player ratings. Let's go. So, Mitch, you can start with Chris Maxwell. Dropped by us, but a safe pair of hands. Some were saying he should have been doing a bit more on the OG. Thought that was a bit harsh, personally.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't particularly think it was his fault. I thought 7+. Did all right. Good save from, was it Reece when they I think we were all really hesitant at the end and he made I can't speak tonight. I'm too hungover.
You do look a bit now. Yeah, you do. Everyone is nurse. Everyone just to the stream and on the podcast. We've all had really heavy nights.
I left somebody's house at 2 a.m. who isn't a Blackpool fan with some other lads who were there who aren't Blackpool fans who weren't interested. And all I can remember was as I left, I was talking about Gary Medine. Why? I don't know.
To a random.
Not like you.
It's just random people, yeah, who didn't give a shit about Gary Medine.
Or like dribble coming out of your mouth. Like,
yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. And then, as I said to you, John, I found myself for no reason at all. I climbed over the flood barriers on the Loon estuary and then found myself stuck on the riverbank, unable to get back over the flood barriers. I don't really know why. So Maxwell, 7.5, 7.5. I can't remember the fielding scale. 7.5. No, what is it? 7+.
You forgot the FPRS system. You have had a heavy night.
I have.
Get to bed soon. Right, Tim, Callum Connolly.
I thought it was a good, solid performance by Callum. Probably other than Judd when he was on, pick of the defenders. I think another 7+. I think good, solid performance.
Raggy, egg potato.
Marvin Egg Potato. That was my name on here, wasn't it?
You used to post this.
When I used to say that this guy's not even a footballer, that's what I said when he first time for us. How wrong. 7.
Mitch, Judd.
Marvin was 7. Judd can have 9. Thought he was very good. Very good. 8+, 9. Don't care, 9.
I fixed this. You can have Kenny, Tim.
You keep doing this. You keep missing one of the defenders out.
I think he might have made it.
Left back.
You've missed husband down.
Sorry, you do husband.
You missed somebody out last week as well because somebody mentioned it afterwards. I've forgotten who it was now. It was one of the defenders.
Well, someone actually mentioned that.
Yeah, it got mentioned.
One of the players
I think it got mentioned on the AVFT thread. You did miss somebody off. I can't remember.
The AVFT police. Right, don't want them on my case. Where is he? Jimmy Husband. He's not even in here. Jimmy Husband, Tim. I'll make one while you're talking.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of people saying eights in the chat. I think it's another 7+ for me, to be honest. Though he started off a bit poor but got better. I think a little bit like Marv. I thought in the first 20 minutes before we scored, he looked a bit nervous, but he did improve, and you're going to get a solid and committed performance out of Hubby, and he didn't disappoint in that front. So 7+.
Okay, Raggy, you can have Liam Bridcut. Sadly, no, we won't do Bridcut. Let's do Sonny Carey because he's played more of the game. Sonny Carey, Raggy.
Well, we spoke about him a bit before, didn't we? I think 9. I think he affected the game. Didn't do anything
Changed
wrong.
The game, didn't he?
Showed what he can do now and showed his potential, definitely.
Need to be a bit quicker on these clicking of names. Right, Bridcut to Charlie Patino, Mitch. Charlie Patino.
Yeah, well, he's got it in my head, hasn't he? I think 9. I think 9+ again. I think you want to give him a 10, but I think 9+. I think he was very, very good. There's a few moments where he's got this habit of throwing himself into slide tackles, and he's going to get caught out with one of those one day. There's a few moments when I just went, and there was one in particular where he went to ground on a tackle, and something happened where the direction of play, and he got very lucky on it. But he was superb. That goal. Is he a 10? Again, why am I worrying about it? 9+.
I don't think he's a 10.
No, he's not a 10. I don't think he's a 10.
No, Jerry's a 10. If Jerry's not a 10, then I'm not coming on here again ever.
So we're going with 9+ or 9?
9+.
Okay. Sir Kenneth of Dougal, Tim.
Sir Kenneth of Dougal. I'd like. Hopefully, he listens in and he heard Leanne give him that shitty score last Monday night, whenever it was, and he proved beyond doubt he's not a 6 out of 10 player. Very effective performance. Really pleased with the way he played throughout the game. I'm going to go for. I think he's a 9. I think he's got to be.
Yeah, he had a great game yesterday.
He's turned that 6 upside down, hasn't he?
Yes.
Chris Hamilton, Raggy.
Well,
first performance of the season, the first start of the season, and what a performance.
Can he play? Now the question is, can he play any better than that? So
can he follow up the form in the next game?
Yeah, but just about yesterday, can he play any better than that?
I don't. Well, I think if he plays anything like that, he's a nailed-on starter every single week.
Absolutely. Well, that's why I'm saying he's a definite 9+, by the way. But I don't think he can play any better, and I don't think he did anything wrong. And I think he affected the game. I think he came into that game. They used him on purpose. They highlighted where he was going to cause some damage. They got him confident, and he played like that. So I'm going to give him 10. because he can't do any more. He can't play any better.
And that moment will live forever
Yeah.
in our memories. If seeing that ball leaving his foot in slow motion towards that empty net and release, it was like
It's like the Houlihan moment, isn't it? That's going to be played year after year after year. Every time we play the Knobbers, that one's going to be rolled out, isn't it? So well done, CJ.
I'm with Raggy. It was a 10 performance from CJ, and he's had an assist as well.
I said to my lad said to me, he said, "Dad, that's my favourite goal I've ever seen." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "I just liked how funny it was." Because it was. And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, it was just funny because their keeper's running back and it went in slowly and everything." And it was like, yeah, from an 11-year-old's perspective, that is his all-time favourite goal ever. And
it was a pressure cooker, and someone's just released all the pressure when that went.
And what did I say, John? I said we can't play CJ Hamilton. That would be a stupid decision. Don't put him, the most doubted footballer on our books, into that game. What kind of idiot would do that? The pressure on him, it's not fair. And there we go. And that is why football is the greatest game, innit?
I was championing his cause.
You were, John. Well,
you two talked me out of it, didn't you? You talked me out of picking him.
Yeah. Well, how wrong were we?
Right. You'll be pleased to hear, Mitch. Matt. You've got your friend Big Gaz Medine. Didn't score, but all-round game again, more than just a goal machine.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was excellent. He was 9-.
And finally,
you got young Edward in the chat here.
Oh yes,
he's in the other room. Come on, Eddie, give us your score for Big Gaz just before we sign off. Yep, I need to improve his vocabulary a bit, don't I? Right, Tim, Jerry Yates. If ever there was an all-round performance from Jezza, this was it. 6 goals in the last 4 games.
You end up run out of superlatives for him, don't you?
I don't think we've ever had a 10+. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, I never thought about that actually. That's an interesting proposition. I just think it defies every single thing you could possibly think of when it comes to a player. It's his work rate. It's even with CJ's goal, he's right on the edge of our area. He's battling for a ball that 95%, never mind 99% of forwards wouldn't even make an effort for. And he's, I think Mitch said before, superbly fit. He's on the top of his game. He's playing the best football probably in his career. And I'm so glad he's a Blackpool player. Have we ever given a 10+?
No,
don't think we have we? Can we give one today? Is there such a thing as 10+?
I would.
10+. Leanne's going to be having histrionics, isn't she? Listen to this with our scoring tonight.
Slated Jezza last
You've got to
season.
be the European
Slated
Cup final to get a 9, apparently.
But let's just cast your mind back to those 2 goals that he scored. Those volleys, in-step volleys, one with his left foot, one with his right foot. 2 completely different goals. 2 headers today. Again, different types of headers, aren't they?
He couldn't head the ball last year. He couldn't head the ball.
No.
He was hopeless. He never won the ball in the air last year. This year it's unreal. That body warmer twat ruined him.
Oh, speaking of the body warmer twat.
Oh, yeah.
Snake.
What a shame, eh?
Oh,
what a shame.
What a pity. He'll be spending his days in Cheshire Oaks, having a latte, staring into the middle distance in his leisure centre.
They won 4-0 today as well.
Yeah, they did.
To be fair, I suspect he's going to be much in demand. I think he'll
might end up down the road at these
with a championship manager's job.
That'd do well, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up getting one of the big jobs, and a decent payoff from Villa as well.
Oh.
So I'm sure he won't be worrying too much. But
No, but he'll always be a snake.
yeah,
Snake or a rat? A snat. Invented a new word.
A rake.
Describe a
the fact
snat.
we're all going to hate body warmers forever is a reflection of the impact
And
he's had.
all that business, whatever he used to do, when he can't do
yeah.
it. All that nonsense.
I don't think we even need to do a man of the match, do we? But there's 3 top contenders for me: Jerry Yates, CJ Hamilton, and Sonny Carey. And for Sonny Carey to be coming off the bench and to be in contention is a great honour. But I think there's only one player that's going to get this award. Yeah, Jezza.
Jerry for me.
And one thing just before we go, we've not done a manager rating for ages, have we? Raggy, let's start with you, because I liked that little story about you saying that you think he's told CJ and he's exploited the weakness.
Totally. Why else would he pick it? Like I said, I don't know about football tactics and all that. No bleeding football manager. But that was what I thought was just get him running, and then he's done it. So I think he's seen it. He's watched it. He's done his homework. Got it into his head to just scare them to death with your pace. And he did it. And listen, he's just masterminded, like I say, arguably one of the best derby games we've ever been to. Total passion. Listening to Patino and his dad saying that the only reason he came is because of him. I don't know what more you can do on a match day. If we're just rating him on yesterday, he can have bleeding 10 and all. He can have 20.
I think the other point for Appleton was that it was a bit of a pressure game for him, to be fair, as well, because
it'd have been a nightmare today.
We were so downbeat coming into this game, weren't we?
I think if we'd lost, it could have got a bit nasty in there, couldn't it? Yeah. So he had to. And I heard his pre-match, and he was basically saying, "This is the best. This is the best game we could have had after Hull, because yours don't need to say anything to them because they know what's expected of them against Preston." And I did sort of fear for him a little bit. I wondered whether it would work, and he's made some big calls, particularly with CJ, and every credit to him. And listen, I know it don't come. It's not working every single week at the moment, but he hasn't got the squad that he would ideally want. But the 4-3-3 that he plays is so much better to watch than the Critchley ball fest that we had a lot of the time, wasn't it? It was quite turgid to watch, where at least when we play and we play well, it's fantastic to watch. It's pure, it's entertainment.
Yeah,
and
it's brilliant.
And
like everything he's put with injuries, suspensions, everyone being downbeat all week, probably wondering himself yesterday, like, what's going to happen here if we get beat today?
Yeah.
And listen, he can't do any better, can he?
Well, it's brave, isn't it?
He's done an absolute job on them, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's brave because he would have been under pressure if that game had gone badly. If it was anything like Hull, he would have been under clear pressure. The atmosphere would have been vile, and the temptation is to think, play it safe, get it, make sure we keep it tight. And we know we've battered them. We've scored this year. We've scored like 3, 4, 3. We score goals. It's brilliant. Love it.
Well, we know he's brave. He's been in the Armfield Club and dropped his pants, hasn't he?
Bollocks! Did he actually do that?
100%.
Never.
Listen, I promise. Listen, I'll tell you. Ben Mansfield was there, Brett and him, and me and Grimmy said to him, "Listen, everyone's saying you've got a Preston tattoo. I don't know if it's true or not, but we need to know." And he went, "Listen, fucking hell, ER." And he just pulled his pants down and pulled his top up and said, "I ain't got fuck all, lad. I'm a Man United fan," is what he said, if you want to know. That's what he said. The most bizarre thing ever, but every credit to him,
You couldn't make shit like that up, could you?
It's great though, isn't it?
So you've set up his guns in real life, have you, Raggy?
Yeah.
If there's any trouble in the Armfield Club as well, if you and Grimmy aren't on duty, you could always make a quick call over to Apples and get him over to sort the bother out as well. Yeah, Mickey Appleton, what a hero after yesterday. Right, I think we'll call it a day there. Gents, it's been an absolute pleasure having your company this evening, and I'd like to say thanks for everyone for joining the stream. There's been over 200 live viewers at some point, and we've never had that before, so we're breaking ground on the Seasons podcast this evening. Right, we're coming back next week. We're going to have a commentary preview show, hopefully, and then a commentary reaction show after that. And all that remains to be said, just to like and subscribe to the video if you haven't done so already. Notification bell. All that remains to be said is thanks for watching, thanks for downloading, everybody, and up the pool, we beat those fucking numbers. Come on!
Change